Hey, hold on, don't start yet. The intro generator is doing its thing. And here we go. 418, the requested entity body is short and stout. Maybe it's symbolic. Yeah, this one just kind of jumps right into it. The opening montage is by no means subtle, but it is wicked cool. The neon colors in combination with the side-scrolling shots reminded me of Katana Zero. Over the top, to be sure, but something about how unapologetically loud it is appeals to me. Ambiguity be damned, we're doing war crime any % with the boys. So I did notice that the design of the masks changed between episode 1 and 3. My guess is that this was a proposed look for the squad, but it came across as cartoonish when they tested it, since they're already edgier than a David Fincher movie. For what it's worth, I prefer the final version. Are they doing the thing? Are they gonna be friends? I made the prediction. Does that count? But we finally got a Caitlin and Vi kiss, and the two of them lived happily ever after. Jace and Echo are hard at work, and so too is Heimerdinger, present in the room. We get a bit of clarity as to how Jace understands the runes to work, but this episode more than anything reinforces that he has no idea what he's messing with. The choice of placement for the failsafe also shows a bit more of Jace's prejudice against the Undercity slipping through the cracks, like that moment on the bridge in season 1. He's not an active oppressor, but subconsciously he places their needs second, and the negligence that comes with that can be just as harmful. On the plus side, it did lead to some wild visuals. I haven't been this transfixed on something I don't understand since Kubrick invented the psychedelic. As for what it means, it looks like Jace is communicating with an extra-dimensional entity and learning its intentions. Perhaps its lease on the 5th dimension is about to expire, and if it can't find another source of biomass to live in, it'll need to get a job. Whatever he finds out spooks him, because Jace decides, approximately 6 episodes too late, to swing his Hex Tech hammer and destroy this thing once and for all. Jace, buddy, I'm glad you're trying, but look at this Rorschach test. See anything? Because I see a guy who should expect more into wisdom. Hex Tech is what this thing is made of. You're fighting a tsunami with a pressure washer. Ah well, have fun in the Spider-Verse. Politics are back, complete with corruption, trace amounts of espionage, and rock smoking? That's one way to get stoned, I guess. I really like this scene. Holding a secret meeting in the crossover behind a stage is a fun analogy for behind-the-scenes meddling. I'm also a huge fan of Lest. She's got a great design and a bewitching voice to match. She's not on screen for long and probably won't be back, but even this was enough to paint a memorable picture for me. Then there's Mbessa. We finally got some insight into what she's doing. From what I could gather, she made an enemy of this Black Rose a long while ago. Whether an individual or an organization, the Noxian army won't be enough to deal with this threat, so she fled to Piltover in search of more firepower and has been prepping for a full-scale assault ever since. I was pretty well spot on in my assessment of the memorial attack, even if I didn't consider the possibility that she orchestrated it. She doesn't care about Piltover in the slightest. She just let them take a few hits so she could save the day and amass more allies. Well, their weapons at least. A solid plan in theory, but the complication of Mel's abduction is likely to throw a spanner in the works. We know she's sensitive to the subject of family, particularly Mel, so if anything can make her lose her cool, it's this. It's really what I love most about these scenes. Everyone's chasing an objective, but they all have weaknesses and blind spots. A theme that continues as we break into the showdown with Jinx. Color me surprised. I wasn't expecting this until Act 3. You won't catch me complaining though, because great googly moogly would I pay good money to see this in a theater. I've been pretty quiet about the music so far, but the ongoing decision to compose directly to picture works so well here, it's not even fair. I enjoy editing visuals to music, but what do I do? This AMV edits itself. To Ashes and Blood captures a tone which lands squarely between climactic and foreboding. The lyrics reflecting Caitlin's self-destructive quest for vengeance and the ramifications of toying with nature, all the while a children's choir highlights the conflict between siblings, the innocence of Isha, and the humbling realization that we're all children in the face of the cosmos. Jace, ya done goofed. Oh, and I haven't even mentioned Jinx yet. Well, she's still good. Every time I think I know what they're gonna do with her, I get lured into a secluded part of the map by a thrown object. I was right in saying that she wouldn't fight alone, but I wasn't expecting her plan to be, well, death. I mean, it makes sense. She's been walking the tightrope for a while and places remarkably little value on her own life, which is precisely why the standoff at the end hit me so hard. Jinx is pretty well acclimated to everyone wanting to kill her, so the look of disbelief in her eyes when not one, but 2 people step in to save her life? Man. Also an isolated character tackling someone who's widely considered a monster to the ground with an attack hug? Where have I seen that before? Oh dear. Caitlin undergoes a bit of a shift in this episode. Let me get straight to it. Is her progression sudden? Absolutely. Was I happy to see this outcome? No, of course not. Do I find it believable? Well, honestly, yeah. My interpretation is that Caitlin's behavior is neither rational nor calculated. It's a trauma response. When people who suffer from PTSD encounter a trigger, that being stimuli connected to their trauma, the brain can respond as if they're reliving that moment. And from that point on, it's fight or flight. Caitlin's traumatic event was the night she failed to take the shot, and one of her triggers is attached to her rifle. Coincidence or literary metaphor? You be the judge. When Vi encourages her to take the shot, only to stand in her way at the last moment, she's not just eliciting a memory of that night, she's reenacting it. Yes, the gap between the kiss and the gut punch is tiny. I initially started writing a portion of the bad section about it, but you know what? I think I prefer it this way. PTSD doesn't present symptoms 24/7, and it won't be cured via makeout session, though could you imagine the pharmaceutical prescriptions? There's a micro-expression right before Caitlin climbs the ladder that reads like recognition of the pain she just caused Vi, and the precise moment she starts to feel it, she turns away before it can sink in. It's like one of her instincts to protect herself is to stop thinking and just act, which just so happens to make her the perfect candidate to run a no-questions-asked military operation. I truly believe this has been a pillar of Arcane's themes since day one, an interrogation of traumatic experiences and how they shape people, even its antagonists. And no, I don't think Caitlin's gonna spend the rest of the season as a one-note villain, partly because that would be profoundly boring and Faltish has already demonstrated competence when it comes to character nuance, but also because Caitlin isn't even the one in control here. She's just another victim of Mbessa doing what she does best, finding people's vulnerabilities, then exploiting them to her will, like the Bene Gesserit or Adobe. Wait, Maddie's staying and Loris is leaving. No, they were gonna be friends. Maybe she'll leave the squad later. Then again, she was the first of the enforcers to start pounding her chest. Whatever, pass the copium. I was right about Loris being a pacifist, so that's cool. Maybe he'll join up with Vi and they'll start a rebellion together. Anyway, I love the way they cap the episode off. The final shot with the reverberated strike is fabulous. Well, I say the final shot. Yeah, I know this is my own dang fault for taking the scenic route, but 3 weeks have gone by and Singe still isn't relevant. I'm intrigued, and perhaps I'll change my mind once I see what it's all building towards, but everything else works episodically, so it's weird how detached this is. Although real quick, I do like the detail of decreasing the camera's shutter speed to give a bit more motion blur. It adds to the sense of wooziness. Vi's mostly been a background character in this act. Season 2 hasn't really been about her, so I don't really take issue with it, but something bugged me when I first saw the montage. The Grey. Vi's from the Undercity, and we know how strongly she feels about enforcer brutality, so her apparent complicity in its use made me raise an eyebrow. One justification I can come up with is that they're only targeting criminals, and Vi isn't above showing them what for. It's also well established that she draws the line at murder, and the Grey, while arguably cruel, is non-lethal. Anyway, I thought it'd be worth mentioning. I've been back and forth on this episode over the past few days, and perhaps I'll look at it differently again once I caught up with the rest of the season. But right now, I've concluded that I like it. I like it a lot. It toyed with my expectations in a way that felt earned, and continues to inject its cast with enough nuance so as to render the terms hero and villain meaningless. Although now that I've finished Act 1, I'm fairly confident that this won't appeal to everyone. The pacing is breakneck, and the interwoven subplots makes it far less accessible than the first installment. But that's precisely why I'm having so much fun with it. I love trying to untangle this web of intricacies, and the fact that the show doesn't hold my hand makes it all the more satisfying when the pieces click. I also don't mind the speed. Though I play Doom Eternal on Ultra Nightmare to relax, I don't represent the majority. The moral of this act is that sometimes heroes walk in the shadows, villains earn your sympathy, and the pursuit of progress should not be fueled by monster energy. Jace, go to bed!